Hey, what's up, everybody? Dan here with the Powerhouse Fence Show, and today I'm in studio, but I'm all alone, just me and Ilaria.
Yes,
So
we're here though.
we're here, we're doing it, and we are live. And so the phone number is scrolling at the bottom of the screen as normal: 901-878-4987. So today we're going to kind of talk about our process of finding jobs that we're going to bid and how some jobs come to us and how we find some jobs. Our show is presented by Memphis Fence Company, MFC Manufacturing, Simpalo, and Thornton Fence Consulting Group. So the link is in the description for Tony's event schedule. Definitely, as always, we recommend that you go check one of those out. I've been talking to Tony a little bit since last week, working on some job description stuff, and he kind of threw another level of, I don't want to say complication, maybe completeness in there. And he's like, well, if you do job descriptions, you need KPIs to go with them. And so now that's kind of the challenging part for me, is trying to figure out how we track the KPIs. Right? It's easy to just say, well, here they are, but then you got to have a system to actually track them if you're going to, monitor them. So kind of the inspect what you expect situation. So trying to work through that, trying to figure out how we're going to stay on top of that and make sure that we're tracking what we want people to do. So like I said, oh, thank you. We are live. Phone numbers on the bottom, and we're going to talk about how we find jobs. And I think next week, or here in the next couple weeks, I'd like to talk about the system that we have kind of developed for bidding these jobs, kind of like the software that we use and the way that jobs flow through that software as we decide if we're going to bid them and then go ahead and pursue actually bidding them. And also, I think maybe coming up soon, I'd like to kind of circle back on some of the agendas that we've done, probably like this year, because we never, or some of the shows we've done, I make an agenda for every show, and we never really get all the way through the agenda. We will today because I'm alone and things go a little bit quicker when it's just me, but normally we don't get through them. So I thought maybe kind of circle back and grab some of the things that we haven't talked about in some previous episodes. But thank you for listening. Thank everyone for tuning in right here when we're live. Thank you for downloading the podcast. It's cool to see the analytics and see that people actually are listening to us and all of that. I would like to know what you want us to talk about, right? Surely someone out there has some kind of question that we could talk about. It doesn't have to be a whole show, right? But if you got a question, something you want us to address on the show, then send it over. It is kind of a challenge to come up with something to talk about every week, and getting guests on the show and all of that stuff, like while we're actively working and doing our job. So feel free to reach out and let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about. If you see me oddly leaning over, it's because I'm trying to look at the whole screen. There's kind of cameras blocking my screen here. So, but yeah, like I said, thanks for tuning in. I've been watching it, and I just want to send a shout out to whoever listens to us in Brussels. It is the number 4 most downloaded location. I don't know, location with the 4th most downloads of our podcast. So that's pretty surprising to me, but thanks for listening. So we're attending the golf tournament for the Memphis Tri-State Fence Association, which is coming up right around the corner. It's on May 17th and 18th in Tunica, Mississippi. Friday, there will be a practice round, and Saturday, there's going to be a tournament. There is a reception Friday night, and then Saturday night, there's a steak dinner with an award ceremony. And so make sure you get down there. Some of us will be there. I'm not sure who else is going yet. We're kind of behind the 8 ball on that, but some of us will be there, and I will have to leave because my kid's graduation party is also that Saturday. So I got to come back for that.
Woohoo!
But yeah, Yeah, he's well, okay, just to be clear, graduating from kindergarten. So,
Still pretty big.
yeah, it's the first step along the way.
Yeah.
So we went they had like a little parade at their school yesterday. And so we went and stood, and they do like a senior buddy. So all of the kindergartners get like paired up with a senior, and so they both walk down this little aisle that was for that parade in their hat and gown and everything. It was pretty cool. So the link to register for the golf tournament in Tunica is also in the description. Would be super cool to have a ton of people there. So if you're listening, if you're in the local area, if you're somewhere around, come check it out. It's normally, I mean, it's been a little while since I've been there, but it is a pretty big event, and there's a lot of people that go there and play golf. I believe it's the largest golf tournament that, yeah, out of all of the AFA chapters. So it's normally a pretty good pretty good turnout, whatever you want to say. And then next, we'll be going to the West Coast Fence Show, September 5th through 7th. We have a couple of booths out there. We'll be representing Simpalo for sure. Speaking of Simpalo, so the developers have been hard at work making some improvements to the system, and I was testing some of that today. But anybody out there who's thought about signing up, it'd be a cool time so that the developers don't have to go hungry. They're not cheap, but I'm trying to kind of build a complete system, and so I just keep pushing. But all right, so what I guess for the past couple weeks we've done, we need a name for it, but we've kind of talked about some equipment and stuff like that we used. I think we talked about welders, and we talked about trucks, and I was actually pretty close to going outside and making a video of one of our trucks today. It rained, so they all came back early, but then it was thundering too, so I didn't really want to try to do a video when it was thundering. But anyways, we will do that, I promise. So today I thought I'd talk about like we have a few different skid steers, and we have a wheel loader, like articulated wheel loader, and we have a walk behind little mini Bobcat. Oh, there you go. There's your brand. So all of our skid steers are Bobcat. When I was probably about 8 or 9 years old was the first time that I ever operated any of this equipment. Of course, I was on a closed course with nobody around when I did it, but it was a Mustang. And so anyone who's been around for a while, it was one of the Mustangs that had the like T-handle steering type of thing that went between your legs. And that's what I learned to run, first of all. And then from there, we got a couple of case machines, and I don't know how they are today, but those just didn't seem to hold up that well. They didn't seem to last quite as long as the Bobcats we're running now. We ran wheel machines for the longest time, and we'd foam fill the tires. And it's cool because they don't go flat, but at the same time, they beat the crap out of you. They're super rough. And like if you get on asphalt or concrete or anything and turn, they like bounce around a ton, and they serve their purpose, but they also are kind of rough. And so I talked to a sales rep at Bobcat for a while about swapping over to track machines, and he's like, yeah, they're great, but they're not going to last. I was like, man, why not? And he said, well, because they have more traction. And so like when you go to move a pile of dirt or something like that, you can drive in there harder. I don't remember exactly, but his explanation was something along those lines. And so I finally just said, you know what, I want to try one. And I think we bought one because we were doing a job, and we're like, man, it'd be super nice to have a track machine. And it was about time to replace one of them that we had anyway. So we went ahead and we bought the track machine, and we put it out there. And now I think we still have one old Bobcat wheel machine, but basically everything we have now are all track machines, and they're great. I would take a track machine over a wheel machine any day. I like Bobcat. They're pretty nice. They hold up well. The machines are good. I know everybody has their own flavor of ice cream, right? Different people like different things. I would say the biggest thing to keep in mind with that stuff is like what can you get serviced, right? How hard is it going to be to get a Bobcat or a Cat or a Case or John Deere, whatever your brand is? Where's the nearest dealership? How quickly can you get parts? How responsive is the service department at your dealership and all of that? And I mean, we've been struggling a little bit with that with our local Bobcat dealership here recently. But for the most part, they take pretty good care of us and they do what they say they're going to do and all that. But the machines hold up well. And so for that, we keep going back to Bobcat. I've ran some other brands. We've demoed Kubota a couple times. I always really wanted to try one because I've had several Kubota tractors and I've always been a fan of those. And I've always wanted to try a Kubota skid steer, but I just never really could commit and pull the trigger. I used one loading some square bales of wheat straw. We had one when we were baling one time, and I ran it for several hours out there, and I didn't really care for it that much. The controls on it just seemed way too touchy. And so in the Bobcats with joysticks, you can adjust like how responsive the controls are. And so if you like it to be really touchy, you can turn it up. If you like it a little tamer, I guess you can turn it down. And so I like that. Like I said, the Kubota seemed too touchy. I didn't like the fact that the Kubota would lift enough weight to make it tip. Bobcats won't do that. Like you'll max out the hydraulics before you get to the tipping load, and the Kubota wouldn't. It would make itself tip. And I hit my head on the roof of the Kubota one night when I was going out through the middle of a straw field and hit a ditch that I couldn't see. And that was not a very pleasant experience either. But anyways, that wasn't the fault of the machine. That was the fault of the operator. So yeah, like I said, to me, what really matters the most is something that you can get service, that you can get parts for, because they're all going to break. And so when they go down, you want to be able to get them fixed. And I would say, this will be my weekly public service announcement. When you're hauling a heavy piece of equipment, spend 5 minutes and tie that thing down. Get you some proper chains and binders and tie it down. It's not that hard to do. You're not loading, I don't know, maybe you are, but you're probably not loading and unloading that machine 20 times a day. And so, I mean, if you got to spend, 5-8 minutes in the morning, 5-8 minutes in the evening, something like that to tie it down before you haul it, it's well worth it. I mean, I've heard stories about people like getting in wrecks and the machine staying with the trailer. I can imagine if you had a wreck and your 10,000-pound machine went flinging through an intersection or something like that, it's not a good situation. So tie it down. I saw a guy the other day pulling a bulldozer, right? A metal track bulldozer. He's pulling it down the road, sitting on a trailer, and there was not a single strap or chain or anything on it. And that's just a terrible idea. People do it with rubber track machines and they're pretty well planted. If you have a wreck, that's going to fling them off of there. But for the most part, they're sitting on the trailer. But man, a steel track bulldozer, that was crazy to me. I've seen way too many videos of those things just sliding off the side of the trailer while they're trying to load them. So spend 5 minutes, tie your machine down. Don't put yourself, your livelihood at risk, because you would certainly have some lawsuits over that thing coming off, but also your fellow humans. You don't want to accidentally kill someone because your machine comes off the trailer. So let's, I'm really excited about doing Italian by myself. I gotta say. So
wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's do it. The Italian word for the week is estimate.
Like money-wise?
We prepare an estimate for a customer for a fence, like a bid.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so preventivo.
Preventino?
No, preventivo. There is a V
Now-
at the end, not an N.
Preventivo.
Yes. Good job, actually.
Oh, thanks. I had to say it like I was a little bit angry, like you did.
Yeah, don't do that. But you did it.
Thanks. All right, so moving right along here. Let's get to the meat and taters here. So how do we find jobs that we're going to bid? This is a really big topic and could probably be a pretty big conversation, but I'm going to try to hit some of the high points and kind of just, I've got stuff kind of categorized a little bit. And so I'll try to give you a little overview here. So first, remember that our fence company is like 53 years old. And so a lot of the local people just know that we're here. And if they're bidding a job, they're going to ask us for a price. So, that kind of plays into it. I will tell you, I personally do not have any experience at starting from scratch and finding general contractors and asking them if I can bid on jobs. I've found new general contractors that we had not bid to before, and I've made relationships with people that I'd never met before that were general contractors and project managers and all this stuff. But I've never started from zero and tried to build something. So there's my disclaimer for this. But I will also say, even though we are 53 years old, like we get invitations to bid on jobs from people across the country that they don't know us from Adam, right? There's a lot of people that are estimators in the world, and I guarantee you there's a lot of them locally that don't know anyone, right? I mean, if you walk into work on your first day and you've got to send out invitations to bid, you probably don't know anyone. So, uh, anyways, like I said, kind of my disclaimer piece there. But if I was to start from scratch, this is what I would start off by doing. I would write a letter, right? So sit down, open Microsoft Word or whatever you're going to use, and just draft up a document that's like an introductory. I don't even
Yes.
know how to say that in English, let alone Italian. Letter, and just say, hey, my name is Dan, and I've got a fence company. For the past 4 years, we've installed residential fence, and now expanding into this general contractor commercial world. And I would like the opportunity to submit proposals to you on projects. I can operate on, I could complete a job that's up to $100,000 or, 50,000 or 200,000, whatever that is. And just, I mean, I would kind of give them like maybe a little bit of history about you, some of the things that you've done. And then, like I said, what kind of jobs you're looking to bid, what size projects you're looking to bid. And I would also say, like, be realistic about that, right? We've talked a lot about money. I talked a lot about cash and how you can get yourself in some difficult situations by overextending your resources, whatever those are. Maybe that's money, maybe it's time, maybe it's installation capacity, whatever that resource is. Just be realistic about what you can do. Of course, when you write the letter, give them some contact information. So where do you want them to send invitations to bid? Probably going to be an email address. Nobody's really going to fax you or mail you anything anymore. And then I would just go to your search engine of choice and find some local general contractors and just send the letter to them. And I mean, you could put it in the mail. You could also email it. You could do both. That would be great. And then maybe a week or two later, I'd give them a call and I'd say, hey, I sent a letter just following up. I want to see if I've been added to your bidders list or not. And that would be my approach. We had Felicia on the show. She used to work here. She now has a fence company over in Western Arkansas. And Felicia said that she would look in the newspaper and there were still job postings, some sort of bid board or something like that in the newspaper. I know nothing about that. I do know that there's like a business journal that gets published, and those business journals will talk about projects. They'll kind of talk about like, funding and development and all of that for certain projects. I don't know that you'd have enough information in there to really find like who's bidding on a job, but you could call an architect firm if you knew who it was and ask them for a bidders list. So,
I think you got a great comment.
what is this? I'm like the Dave Ramsey of fence, and that's a good thing. Love how sincere and genuine you are
Yeah.
in wanting to help people. Thanks, Cannon. I'm trying my best.
You're slaying.
Oh, thanks. I've heard that twice today, right?
Yeah, see?
Yeah. Look
It's a
at that.
good
It
day
must
for
be
you.
true. All right. So, like I said, you can call if you find a job that you want to bid, wherever it's posted, and you can find out the architect on the job, then you can reach out to their office and say, hey, do you have a plan holder list for such and such project? And I mean, it's not going to happen every time. I used to do that in the olden days. Like, I'm not that old. I understand. But I kind of came into this thing when the internet wasn't as used as much as it is now. And I don't mean like you couldn't, go to Google and find something. What I mean is there was not as many like bid boards out there. They weren't as widely used and all of that. Um, I originally bid jobs off of paper. And I mean, so I'd go to like a builder's exchange. I've been to general contractor's office. I've sat in there with the scale and, basically drawn the layout of a fence on a piece of paper and brought it back to the office to bid the job. So I kind of came into it in like that era when that was fading away. And so back in those days, we used to get like printed, maybe from like Dodge, McGraw Hill, somebody like that. We would get printed books every week that were all the jobs that were bidding and kind of would give you a little information. Those would not have all of the bidders listed in there necessarily. And so a lot of times I called architects and asked them for a plan holders list, and that's what I would use to submit bids. So I know that works. But anyways, you can do that. So the number one way that we get requests for bids are that we're just on a lot of bidders list. And again, we've been around for 53 years. I don't know if that's considered old or not, but we've been around for 53 years. A lot of people know of us. We're already on a lot of bidders list. And so we get a lot of emails that just come to us. And I went back over a few days and I looked, and there was about 12 and a half emails per day that's in like a shared email. We just have bids@memphisfence.com as a shared email account. And so we'll move invitations to bid into that email. And like I said, there was about 12 and a half a day average in there that were not deleted. Now, that's not every one of those is an invite to bid on a job. Some of those are updates, and some of those are, we're not bidding on the job type emails, things like that. So we get quite a bit of emails that just come in the door. Let's see. So Dan Wheeler wants to know the biggest mistake I see when guys are trying to get into commercial work. I don't know if it's the biggest mistake, but 100% I would say that the biggest thing that people should be aware of is the way that the cash flow works when you're doing work for general contractors. We've talked about that several times. We did an episode about like deposits and how deposits are not really a thing when you're working for general contractors. There certainly are situations when it can be. And I've talked to several people that were like, man, I had $250,000 sitting in the bank, and I got on a couple of jobs, and like I'm scrounging around trying to find money to pay payroll or pay my vendors or something like that. Like you get on some big jobs and you run out of money quick. And so I think that's a big one. And then kind of a second one, what I've seen here in our own office with new estimators and trying to get them trained on bidding jobs is just not paying enough attention to little details. So you can't rush through when you're bidding a job. You need to look through the plans. You need to have a good understanding of the job, where your whole scope of work is, and you need to spend time. Cash will run out fast. Yep. Add mobilization to your proposal and contract. They will nickel and dime you if you allow. All right. So hold on one second, Cannon. So the details are really important. Make sure you understand where all the fence is in the plans. Use some sort of software to help you. Simpolo has a search feature in it. There's other things that have search features. Go in there, search for FENC. Right? Because that way it'll cover if it says fence, fencing, whatever it is, FENC will find it. That's what I always use. And that really helps you because I mean, in one set of plans, you'll have somebody that calls it fence, somebody that calls it fencing, like you'll have different words in there. And then make sure you find the details of what the type of fence, and then go read the specs, right? And don't only read the specs for the fence, but also read the specs to make sure that does it have to be domestic? Is there prevailing wages? Like you need to pay attention to all of those details. And so I guess that would be the two things that I think are most important that people understand. Mistakes, missing the details, not understanding the way that the cash flow works. So add a mobilization charge. It's funny. I think when I was doing my homework for the deposits episode a few weeks ago, I asked a couple contractors about mobilization. Some of them will let that fly, right? In the fence world. I had one guy tell me, he's like, you know what? I'm not paying mobilization to a fence company. He said, what do? You get in the truck and you drive to the job site, right? Now, what he was talking about specifically was local jobs. But if you are traveling, say you're going, a couple hours away or something like that, yeah, mobilization. Or if you have to like get rental equipment mobilized to get on site and things like that, yes, mobilization. I've sometimes when I bid jobs, I'll put in, I kind of put like a little clause in there and I'm like, hey, I included 3 mobilizations to the job site. If there's any more, it costs you X amount per mobilization. And that kind of, that really comes into play more on the like out of town jobs, right? But yeah, put it on there, right? You can put anything you want to on there. The worst they can say is no. So, thanks for the comments and questions there. Appreciate it. All right. So the bids emails, all right, we get a bunch of them. Like I said, we've submitted a bunch of proposals. We've done all of that over the years. And so we're kind of just on people's bidders list now. But not on everyone's. All right. And so we also have profiles that are built out on various bidding sites. And so there's a ton of these things out there, but like iSquarefoot, Building Connected, Construct Connect, Plan Hub, sites like that. A lot of times you can go in and you can build a free profile that maybe is like, you choose your scope of work, you choose your service area, things like that. And so that way, when a general contractor that's, 800 miles away from you is trying to bid a job that has your scope of work on it in your area, and they send out invitations, like that system is going to send it to you. And so, in fact, as I was going back through that bids email account, I was talking about looking at the some of the emails we had gotten kind of preparing for this. I noticed footers on the bottom of them that were talking about how they were automated emails, right? And so if you reply, nobody's going to get anything. So that's those systems just sending the emails out to you. But yeah, there's a ton of those things out there. I mean, you can look for them. But yeah, this message was sent from automatic project message system. Like you'll see stuff like that on it. So somehow on their side of that system, they're just choosing scopes of work and area and sending an invite out to everyone. And like I said, a lot of those accounts you can go and you can build out for free. And so you definitely, that's worth the time and the effort to kind of just sit down and try to find some of the sites that are available. So that's 2 ways, right? People send us invitations to bid. And then we also have profiles that are out here on these various sites that general contractors use to send out invites. And then the third way that we find jobs.
Cannon Johnson.
Someone called.
Someone's calling.
Oh my goodness.
Hold on, listeners. We have a caller. Cannon. Hold on. All right. What about now?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on?
What's up, man?
Hey, Cannon Johnson calling, long time, first time caller. Hey, first of all, I'm humbled, man. I'm proud you answered the call. I just want to say you guys are doing a great job. Thank you for what you do and keep it up.
Well, thank you, Cannon. I appreciate the call and the kind words.
Yeah, man. Hey, just a quick question for you. Are you like a Drake Clips kind of a guy, or I'm going to the barbershop kind of a guy?
No, I have some clippers at my house and I cut my own hair, actually.
Well, I thought that might be an option too, man. Maybe it's the camera and the studio lighting, but man, you guys look great tonight, man. I was like, I don't know if my phone has been upgraded or you had a haircut or if the camera has went to 4K. But I was like, man, something is freaking clicking on all cylinders on the uh on the show here. So I want to say good job, man. Keep it up. You look like Dave Ramsey here, and I love
Oh, I appreciate it.
it.
And
Yeah, man.
I'll give my compliments to the Clippers. Let them know that they did a good job for you.
They are doing a great job, man. Well, Dad, hey, y'all keep it up, man. I'm gonna keep on listening. That's all I had.
All right, sounds good. I appreciate you.
See you guys.
All right, bye. So, good old Cannon. Ilaria was super excited.
Oh my God, yes.
She's over here with a big grin, giving me thumbs up and everything. So thanks for calling, Cannon. That was cool. There you go. If anyone else wants to call, the number is on there. Anyways, so we do pay for access to plan rooms. But before I get into the ones that we pay for, I also kind of have a little bit of a list here. There's places that you can go see bidding jobs. So like we're in Tennessee, so Tennessee Department of Transportation, they have bid lettings. That's where like they bid multiple jobs all at one time. So TDOT only does it, I think maybe quarterly, maybe 5 times a year, but I think it's quarterly. And so they'll put all of the jobs that they're bidding kind of in one massive document that have all the big quantities in there. So you can just open that document, Control F, FENC, remember? And now you can find the jobs that have fence on them, and it shows you the counties that they're in. So it kind of lets you find the area that the jobs are happening in, so you can see if you want to bid it or not. And it also just gives you the quantities, which is really cool. So I did that today, and I was looking at a job, and it was like, oh, hey, 6,500 feet of chain link. Like, yeah, I definitely want to bid that. I shouldn't say that kind of stuff until after the job bids. So, no, that wasn't Tennessee Department of Transportation. That was the Texas Department of Transportation. So all y'all go look there. So a lot of cities. So, you know, for us, we're in Memphis. Memphis has one. Shelby County has one. Germantown, Collierville, all these different like cities and counties and towns and all of that stuff. A lot of them have job postings on their website, or bid opportunities actually on their website. You can go on there. You can see jobs that are bidding. Now, remember, that's not giving you the general contractors that are bidding the job. So you still have to do the legwork and find out who's bidding it. So you can call the design team. Yeah, I know. What's up, Alan? How's it going? Good to see you. And then Cannon says, remember, Cannon's listening and learning too. That's okay, man. That's okay. So you're still going to have to do that legwork, right? So if you get the TDOT ones, so Tennessee Department of Transportation, those are hard. Those are probably the more difficult ones to figure out who's bidding. And there's some people that bid these jobs all the time. And I've straight up been told in the past, we do not send out invitations to bid. If you want to bid a job to us, you'll figure out that we're bidding and you'll send it to us. I'm like, okay. So there's that kind of stuff that exists out there. But like the cities and the towns and counties and stuff like that, you probably have a little bit easier path if you want to try to contact them and get a list of plan holders. That's going to be your best way to try to figure out who's bidding. And then from there, if you want to make sure all of them are bidding, you can call them all and be like, hey, you bidding on such and such job? Because sometimes some of them are obvious. And then some of them you're like, wait a minute, these people I don't think are general contractors. So you can call them all and ask them. Again, it takes time, but I mean, this is also a free way to find jobs that you can bid. So you got to put in the legwork sometimes if you want the cheap or the free route, right? So, all right. We're still working on kind of getting into this world of bidding federal work. And if you missed it a few weeks ago, we had an episode. It was called GSA Work with Victoria Smith. So Victoria works for a company that does exclusively federal work. And we had bid a job with her. And so she was on here and we kind of went through the job that we bid and asked her a bunch of questions and all that stuff. And we're still progressing in that world. So the federal work is also posted and publicly available, right? So you don't have to pay for anything. You don't have to create any logins, none of that kind of stuff to have access to it. I was looking through sam.gov today. Now, if you want to bid a job, you have to be added onto the project as an interested party. For that, you have to be registered with SAM, and that's a process. It is a federal government website, so you can imagine that getting registered to where you can log in there and all of that is a little bit of a process. And every time you go log into that site, it uses multi-factor authentication. If you close the site and go back 5 minutes later, you have to log in again. So it's going to text you every time and all of that stuff. So it'll kind of drive you crazy a bit, but there's quite a few fence jobs on there once you kind of figure out how to work it. All right. So the paid ones, we have a membership to a local builders exchange here in Memphis, and it's fairly inexpensive. We pay something like $500 a year in annual dues, and I think $150 a quarter for online access. I don't know this to be a case, but I would imagine this place you can still go sit in a plan room and roll out a set of plans and measure with a scale if you're still doing that. I use Simpala. But I think that they still have a place you can do that. And like I said, I used to do it, but it's been some years ago. So this site, when I looked at it today, there was 45 jobs on there that are actively bidding. Remember, not all of them are for us, right? Some of them are going to be your HVAC replacement and, things like that have no fence on them. But you can go through those, and you can definitely find some that have fence on it for sure. And the big one that we use is Construct Connect. And I say big because it is big, not like it does a lot of stuff, right? It's not necessarily the one that we use the most, but it does a lot. I tried to look and kind of see the cost breakdown because they charge you like per user, but then they also charge you per state. And so we're spending somewhere around $5,000 a year for our membership to Construct Connect. If you have less users in less states, it's going to be cheaper. And again, you set that up like we talked about before. You go in there and you build out your profile and you put what type of work you do, where you want to do it, and all of that kind of stuff. And then people will start sending you invites. So you do get invitations to bid on jobs through Construct Connect. I did not look to see how many like active invitations we had. Sorry. It works pretty cool though, because it shows you who it comes from. They all come to like an inbox almost. So it's kind of like an email, but it shows you who they come from. I think it puts like a budget for the job, so you can kind of see like the size of the overall project, not the budget for the fence, the overall project. But if a budget for a whole job is $50,000 and the job is 4 hours away, I personally am not interested in looking at it. But I mean, if you see a job that's 4 hours away, that's $150 million project, like, yeah, that might be something worth looking at. So kind of helps you to narrow it down a little bit. And that's the challenge of it, is narrowing it down. Because as of today, when I looked at this, there were 10,329 active projects that had been updated in the last 90 days. Those are in the states that we pay for, and 10,329. And so that's a lot. And like trying to sift through all of that stuff. But there's a lot of different like statuses that the jobs can be in. So there's 4 different types of status in the category of planning, 2 in the category of bidding, and then 6 in the category of post bid. So it kind of like breaks it down for you a little bit. This is like turning into a sales pitch for Construct Connect, huh?
It's going well though for them.
Yeah, it's going well for them. I can see
you're doing great.
People are leaving the show to go sign up for it right now. There's when I narrowed it down to kind of a little bit more like what I was looking for, the status of either GC or subcontractor bidding, there was 1,230. Still a lot of freaking jobs in there. And same thing, not all of them even have fence on them, right? It's a lot of them that are like HVAC replacement and sewer upgrades and all that kind of stuff that are nothing for us, but you still have to sift through 1,230 different jobs, which brings me to my next point. If you're going to get into this world and like, if you're going to go down the path of Construct Connect, we have multiple people who a large portion of their 40-hour work week is spent doing this, finding jobs and bidding jobs. And
Like Lynn.
like Lynn, Claiborne, Zach, me, Alyssa, some like there's quite a few of us that kind of like play that work in this world. And it's not the only thing that, well, Claiborne, I guess, is really the only one that like this is 95% of what he does. The rest of us, we do other things too. But I mean, there's a lot of hours at Memphis Fence Company spent every week looking through jobs and trying to figure out, are we going to bid it, and then actually bidding them. And I would say like the Construct Connect thing, this is obviously a business decision that anyone would have to make. In my mind, it's more than what you need if you're trying to get into the general contractor world. If you don't have full-time people that are dedicated to just doing this, you're probably trying to go after a fly with a bazooka. You could start by sending the letters, going to something like the plan room that I talked about and things like that, and kind of start there and then build up. I wouldn't suggest just diving all in because it's kind of overwhelming. I mean, every one of these is something new that you have to learn. And so being a software person, software company, salesperson, whatever, like I fully understand that most people, they don't want to learn something new. A lot of people in the world will keep doing stuff the complicated way over and over again, and won't take the time to learn how to do it the easy way. So I think that kind of relates to like going down the path of getting something big like Construct Connect. Building Connected, I think, is kind of similar to Construct Connect. In fact, I've kind of thought about swapping from Construct Connect over to Building Connected just because I like the user interface a little bit. It seems a little more user friendly. So there's two big ones that you could check out if you do want to go down that path. But again, just be ready because it's a lot. But yeah, in those systems, like you can add certain general contractors to a watch list. And so every time that they add a new job or, put an addendum on there or something like that, you'll get notifications. So if you have some relationship with contractors that you do a lot of work for, then you could put them on your watch list and you can kind of like be one step ahead, right, on jobs that they're bidding and stuff. And so that's pretty helpful. And I mean, just being able to go out there and search and find bukus of jobs, it's helpful if you're doing it a lot. But like I said, you're probably going to want somebody full-time to do it. And the knowledge you're giving us is greatly appreciated. Well, thank you, Alan. That's what we're here for, man. I'm trying to share. And hopefully, like I've always kind of looked at this thing as, man, if we're helping one person, then like it's worthwhile, right? And I try not to operate like we have any closely guarded secrets, right? We've done it a long time and we have a lot of experience, but anybody could learn how to do it. I'm just trying to help people not make the mistakes that we've made in the past. Speaking of which, so I was talking to Claiborne today, and Claiborne is our estimator. He's been here for maybe like 5 weeks or something like that. Came in pretty green, didn't really have much experience, catching on super quick. He's doing it, and that's cool. So I think, not to go down this tangent, but there kind of is that like conception that if you haven't like installed fence your whole life and you haven't done this and that, then you can't bid fence jobs. Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. I will say it's helpful, right? It's helpful to have that background in having installed fence and all of that, but I also don't think that it's essential. So for whatever that's worth, I remember, man, back in like 2013, we went down this path with Home Depot and Barrett, and we went out to Utah and we went to this fence company out there. I think it was called like Bear Creek or something like that. And I mean, they let us come in there and we like spent the day with them, and they had basically built their business around this active yards and Home Depot relationship. And so we went out there. That's what it was, active yards. I said the wrong word earlier. Sorry. But we went out there and we kind of spent the day with them and we just learned their processes and all that. And I remember that guy saying, he's like, yeah, we have a salesperson that's new and he's in California and he's been doing it for like 3 weeks and, was kind of bragging on him and all that. And I was like, oh, did he install for you before? And he's like, nah, he had never put in fence. I think it was actually like the guy's personal trainer, maybe something like that, before he hired him as a fence salesperson. And so it's those, we talk a lot about going to these events, right? Going to Tony Thornton's events, going to AFA events, coming to this golf tournament in Tunica. That's the kind of little stuff that you don't ever see coming, is that right there. And so I've thought about that a lot since then. And I'm just kind of like, I agree with this guy. He said, man, I go out. He's like, I put him in a truck, went out there, spent, a week or two, something like that, riding around with him, and he's killing it. He's out there selling jobs left and right. I mean, he's killing it. And he had no fence background, but he kind of put it in a different perspective and he's like, he's just selling a thing, right? I mean, it is a fence, right? But you're just selling a thing. And so, not to say that everything I hear from everybody, I just completely buy into, because that's pretty far from the truth, but it does make you think, right? And that's what that did. It kind of made me think a little bit, but anyways, back to the story with Claiborne. So he asked me, he says, we were talking about a project that I knew to have union requirements on it, and we are not a union shop. And so he asked me, he's like, well, man, what happens if I send a proposal and I miss that? And I was like, well, that sucks, right? Because in his scenario, he says the general contractor sent us a contract and then we find out that it's a union required job. Well, let's rewind back to what I was talking about earlier when I said, I think to Dan Wheeler's question about the mistake, you got to pay attention to those details. So that union requirement probably was in the spec book somewhere, and you probably didn't do a good enough job looking through the specs. Now, I would say there is a possibility that it wasn't there, and there's a chance that it could have jumped out and, they just didn't send you the full specs. Things like that happen a lot. We did a prevailing wage job a month ago, and they sent me just a drawing, or no, they didn't even send me a drawing. They just gave me a layout. So, I mean, I hopped in Simpolo, drew it out the way that they described it to me, bid the job, sold it, and then I get a contract and it's a prevailing wage job. Fortunately, it was a pretty small job. It didn't really matter that much, but, and I mean, we also were paying people like more than the prevailing wage rates anyways. But there's situations like that where they don't give you the complete information on the front end. So you can get into that. But also there's a lot of times where it is a prevailing wage job. I've bid jobs, I've sold jobs, and we've started jobs. And then we get a phone call like, hey, where's your certified payrolls? Like, well, what are you talking about? No, this is a certified payroll job. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, and then you go back and look, and sure enough, it's in the specs, it's in the contract, it's in everything. And I mean, I was young once and less experienced. So that, to answer Claiborne's question, I said, man, that sucks, right? And we can't do a union job. Now, the prevailing wage thing, like that's another conversation, but we can't do a union job. And so now you have a contractor that has depended on you to do something, sent you a contract, and they think, oh, that's taken care of, that's done, I can move on to the next one. Now you got to call them back and say, hey, this contract you sent me, I can't sign it. Like, I know that I told you I would do something, but now I can't. And I mean, that's the start of the conversation. I don't know where the conversation goes from there, but I mean, it ends in you not doing the job. Whether you ever get to bid another job to that general contractor or not, who knows? So I know for sure in Construct Connect, I think it is, there's a way you can go into the settings and you can add people to a like blocked list or do not invite list or something like that. And so you wind up on those lists, right? When you do that kind of stuff, you wind up in those lists where they do not invite you to bid on jobs. And that's not a good scenario. It's not worst case scenario, right? There are things that could happen that are worse, but it's definitely not good. And if you send in a bid bond with that job, now it gets way worse, because now they're about to call your bond if you don't do the job. So now you have a bond claim on your record, and that's going to make it just a lot worse. So anyways, that was a whole tangent. I went on my soapbox there, but the point is pay attention to the details. They're very important. It's really easy to get excited and say, man, this job has so much fence on it. Look at this. It's going to be great. Oh, let's go knock it out. But you got to look at the details. So please use something, use some tools to help you not miss something. Make a checklist, right? Sit down, get you a piece of paper, write it down, and just start adding stuff. You'll find things that you missed as you go along and just add it to that list. But you should have something to help you. So it's pretty much what I have for the night. Unless anyone has any questions, there's some folks out there listening. If any of you got questions, Ilaria, you got any questions?
No.
Man.
I mean, I want to learn how to use Impala, but that's people don't need to know that, given
Yeah.
my fence skills right now.
Well, you could do it.
Of course, I can do it.
Claiborne can teach you.
I need a dictionary first to learn like all the fence terms.
Yeah. Yeah, you do have to have some, in some situations, you need to have some fence knowledge.
Yeah.
In some situations, it has the fence knowledge for you and you don't have to worry about it. So,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. So, no more, are you going to Tunica?
I don't know.
Well, we haven't talked about it.
Yeah, we hadn't talked about it.
Okay. I was going to tell people if they could come down there and meet you or not.
We shall
But-
see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll know for next week.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
We should, actually.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm really bad about procrastinating and like waiting till the last minute. I can have really good ideas about doing stuff, but I'm not that great at like completing the ideas. And so that's why I have to surround myself with people that are better than me. And so
We're just OCD. It's okay.
So shout out to the whole team here at Memphis Fence, Impala, MFC, Manufacturing, Powerhouse Fence Show, all of that stuff. Everybody involved, like that's the reason why we're here and we can do this is because everybody else does all the work to make it happen. Yeah. So thanks everybody. Thank you listeners too. Shout out to you all. Oh man. I don't know about all that, Dan. Wheeler, I've gone to one meeting.
I would vote for you.
You would vote for me?
Duh.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the confidence that some people have in me. I don't know about all that. We'll see. I do intend to attend. That sounds weird. Yeah, I know. I do intend to go to the next chapter meeting if that means anything. So I'm going to continuously try to be involved in our local chapter. And, my plan is to just kind of like, I'm so nervous about like how I say these things. My plan is to just keep trying to push them and trying to get them to do something new and to, maybe change things and like get some interest from people a little bit. It was pretty cool. There was a couple of people at the meeting that we went to a few weeks ago that it was like their first time. And so that was cool. So there does seem to be a little bit of interest around it and stuff, but that's what we're going to keep trying to do. What that means for us, I don't know. We might get kicked out. They might tell us not to come back. I'm not sure, but
No, we won't.
oh, you don't think?
No.
All right. So we're going to keep going and we're going to see what happens. So, but thanks everybody for tuning in. We're going to just stop now, I think, because I don't want to just ramble on for the next 10 minutes trying to fill an hour. So, but yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for what you do and keep on trucking.